Hello. In this short video, I'm going to give you a brief overview of the Blue River Analytics LOE LOS template. This template has two main functions. The first is to allow LOS summaries to be generated for any combination of assets and timescales, and then to be able to drill down into that data to a transaction level. And the second is to be able to analyze that data over time and by comparison of different assets to identify good performers and bad performers, etc. So we'll start by looking at the LOS summary. Here we have the basic summary. This is configured to each client's needs in terms of how they want to break the data out. But typically we've got production and revenue information and various categories of operating costs, and at the bottom we have some financial indicators where we look at what these costs look like in terms of pounds or dollars per barrel. Over here we have a number of configuration settings and filters that are applied across the whole template. So we can look at this data by either gross or net values, and by activity dates or accounting dates, so we can switch to net values if we wish, and you will see this responds pretty quickly to things like that. We can change the date range, and we can also decide whether we want to include accruals and budget data as well. So if we want to switch budgets on, we can compare those as well. Down here we have a set of, again, configured filters that allow us to slice this data any way we like. So we could break into just looking at, say, the Permian region if we wished, and then we can take that further and break it down into the different areas within that, or different individual leases. So we might just want to look at one or two specific leases here, and we've got all of the data at whatever level we've chosen. We could also have various formats for this, so we could pick, for example, one that just looks at the key financials and summarizes it that way. If we want to drill down into this data further, on this second tab we can actually see all the individual data, and we can click on a line and see the actual transactions behind that line. Typically we add a hyperlink on here that will take you into your document management system or document file server, so that the users can actually view individual invoices, etc. So that's a very quick overview of the basic LOS functionality. We can then move on to looking at some of the analytical tools in here, which are again all configurable. So we can configure a number of different charts to look at. In this case, this is looking at operating cash flow and how the LOE looks in terms of cost per BOE, and it's working with all the same filters, and we can start to compare regions and acquisitions and so on if we so wish. So I could look at the different leases perhaps that we picked earlier, which were just these two, but I could also go in and just add a few more leases in for comparison if I want. So we can look at comparisons over time and trends. We can go in to look at individual budget lines. So here we're looking at the oil revenues as they're coming in for the different leases, and how they're comparing to budgets, and how they look in a sort of ranked view as well. We could also drill down into this and say, let's go and look at a particular type of costs, like chemical treating costs, and how they're comparing. And we can again go and reset filters, etc. We can equally look at the financial indicators, so how the operating expense per barrel of oil is looking over time for these different assets, or again any of the other, so workover costs and how they're comparing. That wasn't a particularly good example, but let's go and look at chemical treatment costs. This enables you to compare the performance of the individual assets, work out the high and low performers, and help manage the portfolio. That's a very brief overview. For further details, please contact us at Blue River.